This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Get real.
No.
This
Just
is
stop.
a sham.
It's finally here. Drum roll.
Welcome to DBL. Happy Wednesday.
Hey.
Everybody, huh?
Yes.
We had a little house cleaning to do the last couple days.
That's a perfect way to put it. A little reset.
Yeah, a little reset.
Yeah.
We should have probably just took the week. If you
Yep.
ask me, but we're here.
I think there's still time.
And we're so grateful, aren't we?
We are.
our
We
viewers.
very much are.
We're
We
working,
very
and a
much
lot
are.
of people are not.
Yeah, you're
That's
right.
true.
Good
Speaking of that.
transition.
There you go. Actors have been on strike for nearly a month now, and some of those actors are struggling to make ends meet, as we are, and we are too. We're working. Believe it or not, Emmy-winning actor Billy Porter said that he has to sell his home to save money. He went on to say, until you make, quote, bleep you money, you're still living paycheck to paycheck. Other everyday actors are turning to other means to pay the bills, like dog walking, house cleaning, babysitting. One of my friends, I shared the story before, she's a makeup artist. This isn't just affecting the actors.
That's right.
It's everybody. I don't even want to say below, but around them as well. My good friend is a makeup artist in Los Angeles, worked on Marvel movies, big time movies. She's a waitress now. Yeah, back to her roots because she's got bills to pay.
Yeah. No one really talks about the barrier of entry. And I think that when you are someone who's a forward-facing person, like, I always say I'd rather be wealthy than famous because it costs so much money to be famous. Like, let's say you make $100,000. Like 50% of that is going to go to taxes pretty much. Then you have to pay your agents, and that's like on the gross. So you're paying your agents, that's what, 15%. Your manager's like 10%. You see all the red carpets and all of that, like you're paying for that clothing and the hair and the makeup, and there's like all of these things that goes into being a forward-facing person. That's an investment in your career.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you see these people and you're like, oh my God, everyone knows them, they're so famous, it's like, yeah, but do they have the finances behind it? And that's where a lot of the lack of empathy, I think, comes from for a lot of people who don't understand that, because they're like, oh, if you're famous then you're wealthy.
Right.
You and Jordan talk about this on your podcast, Together Mess.
Yeah, we talk
Good
about
plug.
the lack of money in our household. Yeah.
But I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the actors and the writers, they're in a precarious situation because there's a little bit of jealousy when people look at them. They look at somebody that's a good-looking young actor, and they're
Living
like,
the dream.
They're like, I'm supposed to cry for this guy that lives in LA and is surrounded by models. I'm working my rear end off here as a bus driver or whatever. I don't care. But we also rely on those people during times like COVID and when everybody was watching Netflix over and over again. And you look at the way the UPS strike was received by the public as opposed to the actor strike, because people know people that work for UPS, and they're like, oh, I really appreciate what you do. But I think actors and actresses and writers, their jobs look easy, they seem easy, and they are not. They're tough barrier for entry. And I think the public perception for the Hollywood elite has really worked against them in the strike and the way that's being perceived by the public, because I don't feel like the public, the general
It's like,
public,
go them.
even though, what do they say, California is the 5th largest economy in the world.
Right.
I mean, we are all kind of depending on cranking out this entertainment for people to consume, but there's such a resentment. It reminds me a lot of what we see in sports.
Yeah, it's like a lack of empathy, what you're saying. I just think it's down to who has the longest stamina. Because remember, an unnamed executive on the corporate side said, I will continue the strike and not pay them until they lose their houses. What are we talking about here? Billy Porter losing his house.
How long did that take?
That took 2 seconds. So if they're going to go that long, which is an horrific thing to have said to someone, and Billy Porter's like, fine, I'll lose my house, I'll dog walk, I'll do whatever it takes. Now it's a battle of wills. Who will stand the longest? And that's what a strike takes.
First of all, it's so weird that it's unnamed.
The executive who said that?
Yeah, why wouldn't we know who said that, number one? Number two, how long are these wealthy actors, now we're starting to hear Billy Porter needs to sell his house. Now we're starting to hear some names
Big
that
guys.
you might not
Right.
know. You don't know who my friend, the makeup artist, or a dog walker, you don't know them. But when it starts affecting the people on top,
right?
Is that where we're finally going to get a decision?
I mean,
who's going to break?
If they capitulate,
the actors need to break too at some point and say, "Hey, a lot of people are already can't afford their bills. We need to get this solved."
Well, we already started this conversation by talking about the immediacy of the UPS strike coming to terms, but UPS would have immediately affected
everybody.
Yes, for sure.
Exactly.
Everyone.
It's a necessity.
Right. And what the studios are saying is that we can stand off and hold off for as long as this takes. But the other side can't stand off and hold off for as long as it takes. And I think also the American public, you bring up COVID, but a lot of people use television and streaming and all of these things as a source of survival.
My whole family does.
It's like their only friend. You know, that idea of the comfort of knowing that when I'm going to this particular channel or at this particular platform at this particular time, my people are going to be there. So I think that there needs to be a public outcry as well and a show of support.
And there will be, I think, at some point.
Eventually.
But,
but
maybe too late.
But it's a good old Western standoff is what it is at this point. It's just a standoff. Who can wait the longest?
But I think we know who can wait the longest, and that's the scary thing. And I don't
Except
think
if the public
the only reason I think the actors may hold out, and this will be my last point on this, is because I think the contract that they're being offered is not a thing.
I see.
And so
it's
them
insulting.
capitulating to it would just be going back to nothing. That's the problem. This whole system is set up pre-streaming. What is that?
Yeah, they need to figure that out.
That's like having football rules with leather helmets. You have to it's not a current model, so they can't go back to it. So I think that's why they might hold out at least as long as possible.
I totally agree. All right, switching gears, there's a lot of reaction to rapper Tory Lanez being sentenced to 10 years behind bars after being found guilty for shooting Megan Thee Stallion in the foot, if you remember, back in 2020. So his lawyers argued for probation and treatment to help him with his alcoholism. They called the sentence harsh and said he was being punished for his celebrity status. Meantime, in a statement read in court, Megan said she couldn't be in the same room as Tory. She went on to say, quote, "I've been tormented and terrorized. Slowly but surely I'm healing, but I'll never be the same." Megan also said Tory treated her trauma like a joke, as did rapper 50 Cent and Drake, who mocked the shooting on social media and in song lyrics.
Disrespectful at every turn.
You think the 10 years is justifiable?
Bye.
Yeah, I agree with Erica.
I don't know about that.
He shot her in a car, dude.
If you want to walk around, people always want to talk about, I'm packing, I was walking around with a gun. Okay, but when you're drunk and you're not thinking clearly, or you're just hot-headed and you want to pull that thing out and shoot, be prepared to actually serve the consequences. First of all, this is what's so crazy about this story. She didn't even name him and say what happened at the beginning. The only reason why she was forced to come out and defend herself is because this jackbutt decided to come out and say salacious things about her on social media.
He should shut his mouth.
If ego does not destroy you, I don't know what else will. Because this could have turned out a million different ways. He was 1,000,000% wrong, but he's the one that ended his butt up in jail for 10 years.
She's right.
So bye.
She's right.
Look, I completely agree on every single one of your points. Tory Lanez acted like a jerk from start to finish. That's the best way.
Excuse me, jackpot.
Yeah, I was about to say, I cannot say that. It doesn't roll off my tongue.
Proper terms.
But to take this is difficult because because we're talking legal or he's a street dude. And
is he?
Yeah, he walks it how he talks it. There are certain artists, if you want to take it back to Rick James, there are some people that if you hang out with Rick James, after 4 days of hanging out, a gun might go off. And it's not the legality, but we all know who we're hanging out with at all times. And she knew who she was dealing with. Tory Lanez should go to jail, but to put somebody away for 10 years, are our streets safer because Tory Lanez is gone for 10 years? I don't think so. I think he is a jerk, but I don't think what he did is worth his life. That's the end of his life.
So you're saying that if somebody has a gun, you should anticipate getting shot. They were hanging out at Kylie Jenner's house before that. They were in the Hollywood Hills. Do you really anticipate that you're going to get shot after going to Kylie Jenner's house and hanging out in the Hollywood Hills?
You worked in nightclubs in Chicago for years. You telling me there weren't some people in there?
That is
No. I'm telling you this.
Insane.
You're telling me there weren't some people in there where you're like, a night with them would be fun and also super dangerous?
Maybe, but that is crazy and insane to even think about. First of all, don't write checks that your butt can't cash.
Completely
okay?
agree.
Totally did. There's absolutely no. The reason why I asked is because I didn't know who the hell Tory Lanez was before all of this, and most people did not. Al, please. I'm a 42-year-old woman. I don't know who Tory Lanez is. I couldn't name a single Tory Lanez song. I didn't know who Tory Lanez was until the thing came up on my alert like everybody else saying Tory Lanez shot Meg Thee Stallion. Then I had to Google who Tory Lanez was. He is not a household name until he shot Megan.
I thought it was a woman.
That's
so honest.
Yeah.
When Tory was trending on Twitter, I was very excited, and it was not me.
Spelled my last name wrong.
Yeah.
Any rep Tory could get you. I shot her. All right, we're laughing, we're having a good time, but it's a serious story. Good conversation.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, so coming up on DBL, a former page who worked for NBC in the 70s is sharing some never-before-told stories about several stars from Jimmy Stewart to Andy Kaufman. And Joe Rogan sounds off on the Barbie backlash. Is the movie really anti-men? Al.
Good luck, gentlemen.
He didn't even carry a gun until he crossed the border. What are you talking about?
You can't be. If a gang in U.S. fought a gang in Canada, who's winning?
Those are knife wielders. They are not shooters. I don't know. If there's a shootout in Canada, it is big news, okay? Sorry. So, yeah. I will. 10 years. You do the crime, do the time.
Look, say the thing about Jared from
Jared from Subway got 12 to 14 years. Oh, well, I'm not, he had 14 child victims. I'm not saying you can compare apples to oranges in this situation, but 10 years in the middle of somebody's career will effectively end his career and his life as we know it.
Maybe you should have thought about that.
Erica, he's a fool. Of course he should have thought about it.
It's a stiff punishment because also he went on to every place that would have him and talked about this as if he was openly gloating about it. If you don't make an example out of someone like that who shows zero compassion, zero contrition, in fact, is mocking the victim, then you're telling anyone else that's wielding a gun that they can go around shooting women in the foot just because they got mad. So sorry. Bye, Tory.
I don't know if 10 years is, I mean.
He won't even spend 10 years. The bigger punishment is he's likely going to be extra, or what's it called?
No.
Deported.
Exiled.
He's going to get deported all the way back to Canada.
Wow. Yeah, no, I mean, it's
probably just a mob guy.
Oh, Canada. Yeah. That's all I know. Okay, that's all I know. Oh, Canada.
Welcome back to DBL. As Barbie continues to win at the box office, some men are weighing in on the film. So comedian Bill Maher posted a long rant on Twitter about the film, calling it a preachy, man-hating zombie lie. Bill clarified that a zombie lie is something that never was true, but people believe it anywhere, something that used to be true, but no longer is. Jackbutt and zombie lie are going in my vocabulary.
Jackbutt's my
Urban
favorite.
Dictionary?
Bill went on to say that Barbie fighting the patriarchy symbolized by the Mattel board made up of 12 men was inaccurate because Mattel actually has 5 women on its board. But Joe Rogan said he was confused over all the Barbie backlash. Let's watch.
It's a fun movie about dolls who come to life and try to interact with the real world. But at the end of it, I was like, how did people get outraged at that? Like, they were saying it's I know some people personally who said it's anti-men. I'm like, no, it's making fun of dorks.
Yeah, why does everything take on like a life of its own? I I don't know.
Like
I haven't
colorist.
seen it. I haven't seen it.
Right.
Have you, Tori?
I've seen it, and
Is any of this ring true?
It brings up the context of the patriarchy and what the real world has done and how far women have come. And it presents it in a funny, satirical, entertaining way. There's no men bashing. It simply, I think, brings up a historical, social context. So Mark Maron, who's a comedian, said this about the movie. The fact that certain men took offense is so embarrassing for them. Any dude who can't take those hits in the movie, I mean, what a bunch of bleeping insecure babies. It wasn't a hard-hitting piece at men. And anyway, it was a fun, fluffy movie with a good message.
So Ken looks good in the movie?
He looks like he learned something. And it's not like he's,
Oh.
Ken learned something. And he is, again, this is not a hard-hitting war piece.
Exactly.
It's like a fluffy piece of bubble gum that teaches you a good message.
I mean, it is art, and art is there.
Absolutely. There could be bubblegum art, though.
Yes, but there could also be art that people interpret in certain ways because art is supposed to make you feel something. This movie definitely did that. I agree with Joe Rogan in this situation. I think it's super embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I think, you know what, Erica, that we talk about not getting enough sleep takes years off your life, too much sugar takes years. Getting mad at every single thing. I'm telling you, for all these people that like the war on Christmas and the Gillette ad, I'm like, sir, there's a ticking clock over our heads. Go hug your niece. What are you doing?
The problem is his niece doesn't want to be hugged. Let's be honest.
Because of the Barbie movie.
Because there's a restraining order.
She's owning her space.
He's the scary uncle. You're right.
There's a saying, a hit dog will holler, and people tell on themselves all the time. If you're offended by it, it's because you were hit by it. You are apparently empathizing with Ken, literally, and Ken is a fictional character with no genitals.
It's a doll.
So if that's who you empathize with and you feel like you need to be the great defender, we understand where you're coming from. Got it.
Yeah.
Say no more.
Yeah.
Well, you gave us something to talk about today, so thank you.
Besides jackbutt.
If you have a trip booked and you've seen this news, you may be thinking, do you need a travel visa to get to Europe now? We turn to these sources and verified no. The new requirements are not technically a visa, but that's how you'll hear a lot of people refer to it informally. Along with an updated passport, you'll need an ETIAS authorization to travel to Europe. So what is it? When do you need one? How much does it cost? And how do you get one?
The European countries are very, very busy with travelers, especially from the U.S., and they want that safety and security.
That's why they're implementing the ETIAS, the European Travel Information and Authorization System, an additional layer of border security. To be clear, you don't actually need one of these yet, but the EU announced U.S. passport holders traveling to any of these countries for any business or personal reasons will. They'll be good for 90 days and allow for travel between any of the countries in this area beginning in 2024.
We recommend you put your application in at least 30 days in advance because it should spit it out for you in about a few minutes, 10 minutes tops, but it could take a little bit longer. So
travel agent Shay Harrington says it will require entering your ID and travel info. Then the ETIAS will be digitally connected to your passport. It will cost €7 or about $8. This part is important. Once applications are open, they will only be available via the official website and accompanying app. Don't fall for any third-party sites offering to get you through the process.
These applications are processed very quickly. Normally, you risk that by doing and using any other form of this application.
So again, you don't have to worry about these quite yet, but if you know you have travel plans anytime in the next year to any other country, the backlog of passports is still a real problem. So if you know you need a new one, that's something you can begin to tackle now. With your Verify, I'm Abby Larico.
Welcome back. Shelley Herman has seen it all, including some of the biggest stars of the 70s, and now she's spilling all the tea in her new book, My Peacock Tale, Secrets of an NBC Page. Earlier we spoke with her. Take a look.
Please welcome to the show, Shelley Herman.
Yes! Nice to meet you. All right, now a page is one of the most wanted roles in the entertainment industry, especially at NBC. Most people, though, have never even heard of that job. Tell us, what does a studio page do?
Well, specifically with NBC, it's an executive training program. So it's really like the best entry-level job somebody can get. And usually you have to at least have your Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science degree before you can apply online. They get about 16,000 applications a year. They say the odds of getting into Harvard are better than becoming a page. And once you get the job, in New York, what they do is they usher the TV shows and they give tours of 30 Rock. Here in Los Angeles, the tour operation doesn't exist anymore, but the people who are in the page program still get the chance to hang around executives, work for different entities that NBC Universal owns, like Bravo, USA. They can work in the press department, but you've got 18 months to learn everything you can, make all the contacts you need, and hopefully get a leg up and get a good job in the industry.
Wow. Love it.
I like it. All right, so in your book, there's a story about how you almost killed Jimmy Stewart by taking a picture with him. How did that happen?
Well, it's very rare for the pages to even have pictures with celebrities because we're supposed to be professional. We're the ambassadors from NBC to intermix with the talent or the production companies. But Jimmy Stewart was doing The Tonight Show one evening, and his limousine driver asked if I would take a picture with him and Mr. Stewart. And I did. And then Jimmy Stewart says, oh, why don't you have the little lady come over here and I'll take a picture with her? So that's how I even got the picture. But a couple hours later, I got rushed to the emergency room because as a 21-year-old who was going to college, because they still let you be in college while you were working at the time, I was working another part-time job. I was dating somebody. It was Christmas. It was crazy. I wound up in the emergency room with hepatitis. And my first thought was, get to Jimmy Stewart, get him tested. I don't want to be the one who kills Jimmy Stewart.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I'm glad he's okay.
Yeah.
He's okay. You worked with Andy Kaufman at the very beginning of that strange wrestling stint we all remember in his career. What was it like working with Andy behind the scenes with such a mysterious guy? Was he like, what was he like?
Andy was 10 of the nicest people you ever met put together, all rolled into one. He was kind, he was creative, and he was somebody who was honest, which is kind of funny to say because he deceived so many people.
Right.
But his art was pure, and he recruited me to do something with him one evening where I went up on stage and he pretended like he was going to barber school, so he had something to fall back on if this entertainment industry thing didn't work out for him. And mind you, he was already a little bit famous at this point. And he was cutting a wig, and I was getting upset because it was a bad hairdo, and somebody in the audience said, hey, stop that, and he kind of scuffled with that guy, and then I ran off stage. Well, when the whole thing was over, we're standing outside in front of the Improv, and Andy's laughing, and the other guy, they're high-fiving each other. And I said, what was that? He goes, we got a reaction, we got a feeling, this is something, this is it. It was the precursor to the wrestling that he was doing. And his art was to get feelings out of people. And then just a little PS to that, Andy once told me that he was going to work on a sitcom, and it wasn't very good, so don't waste my time watching it. And that was Taxi.
Wow.
And I married one of the cast members from Taxi who was on the first season, the actor Randall Carver, who played John Burns.
Wow.
Well, we have less than a minute, so I just want to ask you really quickly, tell us in 30 seconds, what were the limo runs that was an assignment? Everybody wanted the limo runs with the celebrities.
Oh, well, the limo runs were great. We'd pick the celebrities up at the airport, bring them to events. In one case, one of the celebrities kidnapped Gilda Radner at her request, took her all around Hollywood, and his car ran out of gas, and Gilda Radner, along with other pages, are pushing her car down Beverly Boulevard. So we shouldn't kidnap the talent.
No.
Bad idea.
You live and you learn.
I bet Gilda
Unless
loved
it's Tori.
How fascinating. DBL Nation, be sure to check out the book, My Peacock Tale, Secrets of an NBC Page, out now at mypeacocktail.com. Thank you so much, Shelley. We appreciate you. We'll be right back.
When you get a stomachache, you may reach for a bottle of ginger ale to help you feel better. It's a common home remedy for nausea and other gastrointestinal issues. However, some people online are wondering if their go-to cure actually works. So let's verify. Does ginger ale really help with stomach aches, as many mamas, grandmamas, aunties, and cousins claim? Our sources are a study published in Nutrients in 2020 Emma Slattery, a registered dietitian at Johns Hopkins Medicine, Dr. Matthew Goldman with the Cleveland Clinic, and 4 ginger ale brands.
This claim needs context. Here's why.
A 2020 scientific review published in Nutrients analyzed more than 100 studies on the effects of consuming ginger. It shows that ginger root can help relieve nausea. Registered dietitian Emma Slattery says eating ginger can also help you cut down on bloating and constipation because it improves the rate at which food exits the stomach and continues along the digestive process. But while ginger may be in the name of the fizzy drinks you find in stores, many brands of ginger ale don't actually contain any real ginger. Verify looked at the ingredients lists of 4 popular ginger ale brands. Seagram's says it contains ginger extract with other natural flavors, while Schweppes, Canada Dry, and Great Value ginger ale do not list ginger at all. Instead, only say natural flavors.
So while ginger itself might actually help relieve a stomachache, the common ginger ales that you can buy at a supermarket don't contain enough of the ingredient to actually make a difference.
Plus, ginger ale, like most other soft drinks, often contains large amounts of sugar, which may create further issues for you and your stomachache. Dr. Matthew Goldman with the Cleveland Clinic says even diet ginger ale can be harmful because our bodies may not digest artificial sugars as well. So, how can you use ginger when you're feeling sick? The Cleveland Clinic recommends mixing ginger root with decaf tea or warm water.
With your Verify, I'm Adiante Till.
Many people keep bottles of water somewhere they might come in handy during an emergency, like stockpiled in a garage or a pantry.
Or maybe you're like me and just leave water bottles everywhere.
Can you drink those bottles days or even months later? Let's verify. Does bottled water that's properly stored expire? These are our sources. Bottled water that's unopened and stored properly doesn't have a shelf life, according to the Minnesota Department of Health and a letter from the New Jersey Department of Health. Foodsafety.gov says commercially bottled water can be stored indefinitely, though the taste may be impacted by improper storage conditions.
So, what is proper storage?
The International Bottled Water Association recommends storing water at room temperature or cooler, out of direct sunlight, and away from solvents and chemicals, such as gasoline, paint thinners, household cleaners, and dry cleaning chemicals. So we can verify, no. Unopened bottled water that's been properly stored does not expire. So then why do some bottles of water have expiration dates? The FDA doesn't require bottled water to have expiration dates, but the New York State Department of Health says many manufacturers opt to give their bottles 2-year expiration dates for taste reasons, not for safety. And what about those half-empty bottles of water laying around your house? Buxton, a British bottled water company, says once a bottle is open, you should finish it within 3 days to avoid any potential bacterial growth in the bottle.
With your Verify, I'm Adiante Till.
All right, Erica, you have like some of the best quotes on this show, but to downgrade you a little bit, Jack Butt's going to be at the top of my list anyway.
And the way she said it, she goes, some kind of Jack Butt. It was so good.
Erica always has a bumper sticker. This one would sell.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't be a Jack Butt.
Don't be a Jack Butt.
Go to my merch store.
All right, let's see you tomorrow, guys.